Donald Trump's effort to stop Harvard from enrolling international students is illegal, it's unconstitutional, and it's going to be blocked by the courts. But the stakes are much bigger than just foreign students. If Donald Trump can force Harvard to submit, he's going to be that much closer to his dictator's dream of imposing his own version of reality on all of us here in the United States. One of the reasons Trump's going after Harvard is that it has stood up to him. He doesn't like the fact that there's an institution, a big, important, non-governmental institution, that is refusing to bend the knee and is suing him for his violations of fundamental constitutional liberties. The Department of Homeland Security gave almost no explanation for why it decided to suspend Harvard's right to enroll foreign students. But the one thing that they did say is that their goal is to root out anti-Americanism and anti-Semitism from American universities and societies. That's a clear violation of the First Amendment. You can't target a university or any other person because of what you think of as their views. And yes, it's still a violation of the First Amendment if the targeting is based on views that the institution or the person doesn't actually have, namely anti-Americanism and anti-Semitism. There are a couple of reasons why it's blatantly illegal to block Harvard from enrolling international students. The first is there's a procedure, and as usual, the Trump administration has completely ignored the legal procedures. The second is this is what the First Amendment is for. It's designed to protect institutions and people from being retaliated against by the government when the government just doesn't like them or doesn't like the point of view that they take. It's really scary that Trump is going after universities, and that's because universities play a fundamental role in a constitutional democracy. A bit like the courts and a bit like the free press, universities are a place where independent scholars make independent judgments about the truth and try to research and analyze questions without the government breathing down their necks. In a free society, if we don't have independent sources of authority and we don't have independent sources of judgment, we are completely dependent on what the government tells us to believe. That's what happens in a dictatorship. It can't be what happens in a constitutional democracy. The core purpose of the university where I work, Harvard, just like the core purpose of all universities, is to pursue the truth and to do so without fear or favor. If the government can tell us what we need to say, if it can tell us what our perspectives are, if it can tell us what our ideology is, if it can tell us who we should teach and what we should teach them, then we're going to lose that fundamental capacity to contribute to a democracy. This matters to everybody. It doesn't just matter to universities like Harvard. It doesn't just matter to international students. It matters to everyone who lives in a democracy and enjoys that because we have access to sources of information that aren't just the sources of information controlled or manipulated by the government. If Trump can push around Harvard, he can push around any university or all universities. And if he can do that, he's further along his path to trying to become a dictator. A university is a place for free speech, but only courts have the legal authority to protect free speech. That's why right now we need the courts to do their jobs and rapidly and convincingly show that Donald Trump cannot shut down Harvard.